Kobbie Mainoo didn't start a single Premier League game this season until the 17th of January. Not one. Amorim completely ignored him, didn't give him chances, and even laughed when he was asked about playing him. But since Carrick took over, everything changed. Man United under Carrick have lost just 2 out of 14 games. One of those defeats came in the only match where Mainoo didn't play, and the other one came after United conceded a late winner in the only game where he was taken off. In every other match, he started and finished the full 90 minutes. And that is not a coincidence, because with Kobbie Mainoo in midfield, Manchester United are a much better team than they are without him. So how could Amorim completely ignore a player of his quality? Did he not see his talent? Did he not understand what kind of gem he had? Well, if you look more closely, you realize this was never a question of talent. It was about a manager who was too arrogant to admit he was wrong. Kobbie Mainoo was born with the ball at his feet. From a very young age, his talent was obvious. He was so good that one of his first youth coaches had to force him to play with his weaker foot just to give the other kids a chance. And while some children would complain, he didn't. He liked being challenged. He was always humble and hardworking, and he kept getting better and better. He joined the Manchester United Academy at the age of 9. He started as a striker, then moved to number 10, and eventually deeper into midfield. And by the age of 17, United knew exactly what they had in their hands, an absolute gem. He made his Premier League debut in February 2023 against Leicester. Heading into the next season, they were seriously thinking about integrating him into the first team, but nobody could predict what would happen next. United's start to the 2023-24 season was a disaster. They lost 8 of their first 15 games, their worst start since 1962. The team looked broken all over the pitch, but especially in midfield. They couldn't control games, they couldn't keep possession, and whenever they lost the ball, they were so easy to play through. Then on the 26th of November, Kobbie Mainoo made his first ever Premier League start against Everton, and immediately the midfield looked different. He brought press resistance, he brought awareness, he brought scanning, he brought progression. He knew when to speed the game up and when to slow it down. He did not treat the ball like a bomb. With Casemiro, Sofian Amrabat, and Scott McTominay, United's midfield often looked heavy and chaotic. Mainoo brought fresh air into it, and once he got that first start, he never looked back. He scored a last-minute winner against Wolves, he scored a huge goal against Liverpool, and then he ended the season by scoring the winner in the FA Cup final. Just a few months later, he got called up for England. Only 2 months after making his international debut, he was called up for the Euros. He started the tournament on the bench, but after uninspiring group stage games, Southgate brought Mainoo into the starting 11 for the last 16 game against Slovakia and instantly changed the dynamics of the midfield. From that moment on, he started every game until the final. He was just 18 years old, guiding the English national team to the final of the European Championship, and this was just the start. However, after a fairy tale introduction to senior football, the next chapter of his career wasn't the same. United started the next season awfully, and although Mainoo was one of the main reasons Ten Hag survived as long as he did, eventually it all collapsed. In late October, Ten Hag was sacked and replaced by Ruben Amorim, and this is where things got really shaky, because while Amorim did start Mainoo in some of his first matches, over time it became very clear that he did not really see his future Manchester United with Mainoo in the starting 11. Despite poor results, Amorim stubbornly stuck with his 3-4-3. In that system, the 2 central midfielders have to do a lot. They have to cover huge spaces, help with the build-up, protect transitions, and give the team balance both on and off the ball. Amorim preferred Bruno Fernandes in that role, rather than playing him higher up the pitch, and he clearly was not comfortable using Mainoo as the number 6. That left Mainoo with 2 options. Either compete with Bruno for a place in the team, which was basically impossible, or play further forward, where he is nowhere near as effective. And that is the key problem. Amorim did not drop Mainoo because Mainoo wasn't talented enough. He dropped him because his system did not know what to do with a player like him, unless it was willing to move other pieces around. But despite poor performances, despite bad results, despite the fact that United were crying out for a midfielder like Mainoo, Amorim refused to bend. He kept arguing that a manager who abandons his identity under pressure is weak, and to a certain extent that is true. But there is a huge difference between abandoning your identity and adapting your structure. There are principles like building from the back, controlling possession, pressing high, counter-pressing after losing the ball. Those principles form managers' identity. But formation, roles, spacing, structure, those are tools that help you shape your identity. And the best managers in the world understand that. They do not fall in love with one formation. They fall in love with the idea behind it. If they arrive at a club and realize the squad is not built for their preferred shape, they adapt. They change the structure without betraying the principles. That is what Amorim failed to do. His 3-4-3 worked perfectly at Sporting, but if Amorim can only execute Amorim football through one formation, formation. If his 3-4-3 formation becomes his principle rather than his tool, then he does not have the flexibility required at the very top level. He looked at a squad that clearly was not built for his system, and instead of adjusting the system to the players, he kept forcing the players into the system. And it cost United not only in short-term results, but it almost cost them one of their most promising young players. He was not playing. He was visibly unhappy, and suddenly there were rumors about him leaving in January. But then Amorim got sacked, and whether it happened for the right reasons or not, it saved Mainoo. Michael Carrick came in, went back to a 4-2-3-1, and of course, Mainoo had to play. Ever since then, United have looked like a completely different side, and one of the biggest reasons is him. With players like Casemiro and Manuel Ugarte, United often struggled in the build-up. Under pressure, the team lacked calmness, it lacked composure, it lacked courage on the ball. Mainoo gives them all of that. He can carry the ball forward, he can receive under pressure, he can offer passing angles when teammates panic, he can progress the ball, he can turn out of tight spaces, and most importantly, he can make the whole team feel calmer. That is a huge gift for a midfielder. Some players make the game faster, some players make it safer. Mainoo can do both, and once Carrick put him back into a midfield structure that actually made sense for him, the benefits became obvious immediately. United could build better, they could sustain possession better, they could connect defense to attack better, and that is why their form is turned around so dramatically. There are many question marks over Man United's future after next summer, but one thing is absolutely certain. If Manchester United want to be successful again, they have to build the team around players like Kobbie Mainoo.